Welcome back to Arizona Real Estate Matters, brought to you by Empire West Title. Our next guest, I'm going to introduce him to our listening audience, but he really needs no introduction. It's Brian Ford, realtor at HomeSmart Elite. Brian, welcome back.
Thanks for having me again. I always love being here.
And so, ready, set, go.
Oh, yes.
What are we talking about?
Well, let me give you a little preface here. Brian Ford, he is realistically, he is one of the very pioneers that really started website real estate marketing 25 years ago. I mean, he knows more about putting your home on how to get top placement with Google, which is a huge benefit to have now if you're just looking to list your home and getting your home, getting through top placement page results so that these people are seeing your home first. So Brian is the master of that. But you're at HomeSmart Elite now, you went from working websites to actually selling for HomeSmart Elite. HomeSmart Elite. Tell me a little bit about how great is it?
I'm super happy. I've been like every agent and I think every loan officer in the business. You kind of have to get your feet wet, kind of feeling where you find your fit, right? And one thing is, I realize with the technology nowadays, one thing I really like about HomeSmart is Matt Widow's. Phoenix, HomeSmart's a Phoenix-based company, and he kind of made an investment early on into technology. Yeah. And since that's my wheelhouse, it really made it really even more attractive to me to see kind of some of the back end things that they have built into the system. And I'm telling you, when it comes down to just putting our documents in, getting paid, like we can, approve our checks, everything's done through one central, system for us. And so it's very nice. And our company's getting ready to go public this fall.
So you can buy stocks in HomeSmart Elite.
Yeah, pretty soon. Yeah. And HomeSmart Elite is we're kind of made up by a number of agents that have kind of left some of the bigger companies because we've all realized, we're kind of stronger as a bunch than we are as individuals. And some of the best agents have kind of migrated over, and so we have a really great kind of culture.
And Matt Widows has always kind of been known for cutting edge. He's on the pulse of the market, and he's making changes ahead of time before anyone else does. So,
yeah, and that being said, if anybody out there is looking to be an agent, we have a brand new agent equity program where you can become an agent and actually earn equity from anybody else that you introduce to the company.
Would that agent get to go under you? Do you any?
I don't even like to say it like that. It's more like it's like some of the multi-level companies would be more like that. I would consider it more like just like if you wanted your friend to come work with you.
Well, I'm saying it more from a standpoint. I think if you were new in the business and if you could use Brian Ford's knowledge to understand how to list properties, how to get them online, how to get that's something huge. That if you could get that type of education, and you're thinking about getting into real estate, Brian Ford would be a great
absolutely. And and I'm considering if anybody's interested out there in radio land in becoming an agent in any part of the valley, or even I'm considering adding some folks to my team. Yeah, and that being said, I can help train you and things like that.
We'll get your number at the end of the segment.
Okay.
So, but we definitely wanted to throw that out there because we do have a lot of aspiring agents that listen to the show. So.
Let me just, because I wanted to get started on the Q&A here, because I'm really interested about one of the things that you want to talk about today, and we'll get to that second. But let's talk about first, I mentioned this a while ago, and I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people outside of the industry, but people inside of the industry, and I consider 2022, is that the year we're in?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
it's already so I figure 2022 is a year of transition for the real estate industry. What we saw the last 2 years is, I don't know if you can consider even somewhat normal. That it was kind of bizarre. You had ultra low interest rates and ultra low inventory at the same time. It was kind of a perfect storm for in the middle of a pandemic. So it just, but we're now starting to get into what people going forward are going to recognize as a more normal market. However, we need to transition out of what we just went through into that normal market. So let's talk about, what's changing in the market today.
I think it's a good thing if we're slowing down a bit, because it's been to the point where literally if anybody's been to an open house in the last 6 months to a year, if it's a good house, I swear to God, I've pulled up to open houses where you're getting ready to open the thing and you got 30 people standing outside,
And that gets exhausting as an agent, and even as a buyer or seller, it's exhausting.
Well, you realize that's the other reason, a lot of people want to be, I'm going to save money by selling it myself.
Yeah.
Well, it's a possibility, but if you realize how many phone calls, like for you to really get top dollar and all the different negotiations and like if you want to take, like we counted one particular deal and counted 1 week on how many phone calls we got in on it. And it was, on the market, like 3 days, sold, got 15 offers, and we had over 600 phone calls.
Wow.
Like you can't even possibly,
Yeah,
deal with
as a
it.
for sale by owner, or you'll hear it as a FSBO, a lot of people think, well, I'm just going to throw it out there at a high price and all. But you know what? That's fine, but who is going to market that property for you? Nobody is. Who's going to hold your hands when you're going through the contract? An agent is such a huge thing to have to represent you,
And protect you.
and protect you. Brian, I know you're good at all of those things, but let's talk about it's actually damaging to have people throw these properties out of higher sales.
I
price.
just was texting with a friend of mine who's new in the business, and she said, "Oh my God, I wouldn't believe it. I learned the hard way where I posted under contract."
Okay.
Right? It's just like if you post that your team's going
Kiss
to
of
win the
death.
Super
Yeah.
Bowl
Kiss
and
of
there's
death.
still
Yeah.
a minute left.
Yeah, kiss of
right?
death. Yeah.
So, anyways, yep, sure enough, she texted me. I learned the hard way. After the inspection, deal fell apart. If you don't know this about Arizona, if you buy a house, you have 10 days. By law, it can change. But however, in this market, a lot of people are waiving inspections, to get the deal, or you're also having to sign, what they call an appraisal waiver. So a lot of times, I think the last stat I saw, and you guys might have covered it earlier, that was over 67% of the properties that sold last month were significantly above list price.
Yes, yes.
So it brings me to that part with
Sure.
overpricing, right?
Sure.
So in this lady's case was,
Sure.
hey, we just sold our house. So our neighbor said, hey, we're going to try to sell ours, right?
Yeah, I'm sure you hear that quite a bit.
All the time, but the problem is then they stick this pie in the sky number on the board, thinking
Oh,
that
yeah,
somebody's,
see if it
yeah,
sticks.
if somebody pays me $1 million for it,
Right.
even though it's only worth 700,
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what happens. I just sold one of my biggest sales.
Yeah, yeah.
And realistically, the house was listed, I want to say, towards the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was priced way too high.
Yeah.
So
I know exactly what price it was.
yeah, it was at 3.3. Okay, so it's
3.3,
listed at 3.3, so it gained some days on market. And
Yeah.
I even became friends with the sellers, and the
Yeah.
seller said, we had 4 showings in 2 months, and we
Yeah.
figured, we needed to axe this agent. And I won't mention any names,
Sure.
but long story short, in the end result, it got taken over by another agent, but it made it look bad to the buyers out there that the thing had 30, 40 days on market. I'm telling you, that doesn't happen.
Even for our listeners out there, even a $3 million home in today's market, that's a bad thing.
That is-
Even homes in that price range go quicker.
Yeah.
There's buyers, 4 million, 5. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
But it used to be, the home's been on market for 60 days. Well, that would be a problem. Nowadays, a $3 million home, if it's, you
Put it this
on
way,
market
that's
for
the
4 to 5
that's
days.
that's the sweet spot.
Yes.
If you can get something nice under 3 at this point,
Yeah.
good luck.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
literally, because what you used to think, and it's depressing for guys like me, where you think, oh, when I'm rich or someday
Mm-hmm.
I'll have a $2 million house and it's going to be the sickest, awesomest house ever, and they're not. I mean, really, a $2 million house at this stage is just a bigger, normal house.
It's a nicer normal house. It's crazy.
It's not like it's not cribs.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
yeah.
Well, let's talk. I want as far as an agent is concerned, you've got a regular subdivision, and I want to throw this scenario out there because this happens 1,000-fold every single day. You have a regular subdivision out there. You have 2 houses literally next door to each other, same exact elevation, same floor plan, built the same year, and everybody thinks, well, if their house is exactly like mine, I should be able to get as much money as they got.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is I don't care what that is. Real estate is not apples to apples. It's apples to oranges every single
Well,
time.
it really boils down. I'm thinking of one right in my neighborhood, and it's because one sold in our neighborhood for over $1 million, but it was gutted and fixed up to the max,
Totally
right?
nice, yeah.
So houses that are like that, literally, those are the ones that are going in one day.
Yeah.
If it's a super, and that's part of the preparation of the house. If you just think you're going to throw a house on the market, throw a pie in the sky number, don't go through the process of, like I offer, everything top to bottom, from the marketing, photos, drone photography, HD night photography, all these things that are drawn to get more eyeballs on your listing when it comes down to selling it. And that's only, at the bottom line, that the only thing that matters is you're going to get more money in your pocket at the end result.
Well, Brian, and everything you just listed there is everything that's in your wheelhouse. And a lot of, I don't know how to do it. I'm not going to hire somebody. Brian, I mean,
Well, people cut corners nowadays too, right? Because they
yeah.
think, oh, it's just going to sell anyways. But I
Yeah,
mean,
I
I
like
do the
that.
same thing whether it's a $200,000 house or a $5 or $10 million house. I
You
would
are
do
the
the same
hardest
thing.
working man in the real estate business. I really think so. But you work smarter, not harder, because you understand what you're doing. Realistically, guys, I talk with a lot of agents and work with a lot of agents. I'm telling you, you're the best guy I know. You really are.
Come on,
You really
thanks.
are, because of your knowledge with the internet. I've known you forever, and you got to have a sense of humor, Brian. You've got a great sense of humor.
I try. Oh, you have to, man, or
Yeah,
you'd go crazy
yeah,
in this
yeah,
business.
yeah.
But I mean, that's the bottom line: is you got to just take care of your clients first and foremost, and everything falls together from
Yeah.
there.
So basically, kind of backtrack a little bit. In this changing market, we're in a transition period back to the normalization of the real estate market. It's going to take a little time to get back to that point. We need our inventory to get back up there. But until that happens, you're going to have a lot of sellers out there thinking that they can just ask for whatever and get it. What you're doing is you're bringing them back down to earth. You're saying, look, this real estate market is really no different than it was prior to 2 years ago. You still have to market it. You still have to do your media. You still have to price it accordingly. You can't just price it at whatever you want.
Right. You wish you could. I mean, it'd be nice. I mean, trust me, it happens in some instances, right? But I mean, rule of thumb is, I mean, this is the perfect example. The guy next door to me is trying to sell his for $1 million, and it hasn't had anything done to it in 20 years.
Yeah,
like no new floors, no new counters, no new nothing, right? So that's why it's now probably over 3 weeks on market.
Yeah, and again, when you're looking at a property and you see a property that's been fixed up, and it's been on the market for 30, 60, 90 days, especially in this market, everyone's going to think, what's wrong with it? What is wrong with it? So don't throw it out there so dang high that
It's
you're
the
not
same.
gonna get
You
it.
just
You're
got.
gonna
I
be
mean,
sitting on it for
you're
months.
better off putting it at the price it's supposed to be.
sell it, yeah.
Because then you're going to get more competition, and that's where we come in, is fielding all those offers and really getting creative and requesting, really fighting for every last dollar for you.
Well, you almost want to do it so it's priced where you're going to get multiple offers, because what happens then is you may have 2 to 3 buyers that are going to mark that price up slowly.
Yeah.
Because they're now in a battle over that price. And you're going to get a higher price doing it that way than just throwing it out there and hoping someone
Yeah,
gets
and
it.
then days on market will shoot you. Because,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's gonna
and that's
always
exactly
hurt.
what happened. I mean, basically that house got sold for roughly $500,000 less
Yeah.
than it was listed for originally.
Yeah.
Just based on the facts. So that being said, is by the time my clients closed, they walked into $300,000 worth of equity.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing, granted, there might only be in any given subdivision, instead of having 15 listings, you might only have 5. But here's the problem. But if 4 of them are priced accordingly, and there's that one that's way up there, you're just going to look at those other 4 and probably
Especially
not
if
gonna
the
look at
one's
that
way all beat up. I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the only houses that are sitting. Is the ones that are beat up, and those are the ones you'd like to remodel. But at the same time, only if you could get it at the right price.
Yeah.
And that's what people need to understand is, yes, as a home seller, yes, you want to get top dollar. You always want to get top dollar. It doesn't matter which market it is. The problem is you just can't ask for the sky and get it just because buyers are desperate. Trust me, there's a lot of buyers who've decided to rent for another year or 2 because they're not that desperate.
Yeah,
They're okay.
And they also think it's going to crash. And I will just throw that in real quick. It's not. We're just at the
market's
point
not
where we have
crashing.
too low of listings and too many people coming.
Yeah, no, it's basically some of the air is going to come out of the market. We're going to deflate back to a normal real estate market. And that's basically what's going to happen. We've been talking about that for a couple
It's
of
going to be
years.
so nice when it happens.
And it's going to be nice when it happens because it's going to be a nice even kill. Brian, how does somebody get a hold of you?
My website is available 24 hours a day at brianford.com. And you can always call me direct or text me anytime, 480-822-8595 or brianford.com.
If you're a buyer or seller in the market, you cannot go wrong by giving Brian a call. He is going to, like Josh said, the hardest working man in real estate that Josh knows. Our other guest today was Steve Circus, loan officer with Citywide Home Loans. Thank you both for being on the show. Josh, another great
Thank
show.
you.
Come
We
on.
will talk to you guys next week.